Hey friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm excited to share with you a couple of the new releases from Spellbinders today. I have the curved Everyday Sentiments hot foil plate in coordinating banner dies, and I also have the Glimmering Peonies from the new Glimmering Flower collection. I have the hot foil plate as well as the layering stencil that coordinates with the hot foil plate. This is like my current obsession. I love any type of plate with coordinating stencils, so either hot foil or better press. So I was really excited when Spellbinders gifted me with these products to be able to create with and show you some inspiration. So we're going to start with hot foiling. I'm getting my Glimmer Hot Foil machine that I have on another table in my craft room it's warming up, and I'm going to take the peony plate and I'm going to run it through twice, once on this darker blue cardstock and once on some white cardstock. I thought I would do just a card with the hot foil in case stenciling isn't your jam and maybe you just want to get the hot foil plate. And then I will also hot foil on white cardstock so I can use the coordinating stencil. So I'm trimming the two pieces of paper to be 4.5 by 6.5 inches. The plate itself is about 4 by 6, so gives me a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm going to use the shiny gold foil from Spellbinders. This is just in my stash of foil, and I'm using my paper trimmer, foil trimmer set. I can't think of the right word for this. It's like their trimming tool's the right word I'm looking for. And I am trimming the foil to fit the two pieces of cardstock, and then I also used the die from the sentiment banners to trim down two more pieces of foil, and I'm just trimming it to be the same size as the white cardstock that I'll use for the sentiments, so I don't have too much of excess foil to avoid overfoiling. However, I do get a little bit of overfoiling with my different glimmer impressions, but that's okay, no big deal. The way that I die cut everything, it will be fine. So I ran my two sentiments at the same time, and I think my paper must have moved a little because I run it through my die cut machine to make the impression of the foil. I run it through once and then back through again, and I think one of my sentiment plates must have moved a little and it created a bit of a shadow. But overall, I think it looks still pretty cool, so I'm not going to rerun it. I think it looks fine. And as you can see, I did get a little bit of overfoiling with the blue cardstock, but I'm going to use one of my nested A2 rectangles. This particular set is not from Spellbinders, but Spellbinders has lots of rectangle, like A2 size dies you can use. So I'm going to use that to trim down my background to an area that I liked that didn't have a lot of overfoiling or any type of issues with my foiling. So no big deal with that. If you do have overfoiling, you could just use kind of a coarse brush to pick up some of that excess foil, like kind of buff it off, or use a sand eraser to get off the overfoiling. That works as well. So for the white piece of cardstock, I'm just using a grip mat here, and the first of the mini dies, or not dies, stencils, there's like 5 total in this layering set, and I'm using some dye-based inks. I have all of the Pinkfresh Studio inks in cube form. I would love to be able to have them all in the larger form, but my budget allowed for the cubes. And I'm using some of my pinks to color them in with some blending brushes. I'm actually going to be using the color Peony. That's what made me choose this particular blend of colors. So I'm starting with the lightest pink in this set first. And I'm just adding a little bit of color to the tops of all of the petals of the different peonies. I want to create kind of an ombre shadowed look with the different colors from this set of 4 pinks. So I started with Cherry Blossom as the lightest, and now I'm moving into Peony, to be the shadow for my cherry blossom. I will bring in one more color, the next one up in this like rosy pink collection, to add some depth for the petals. I'm going to go in between the two middle colors to color in my petals when I get to the next stencil, but I'm using the light and the first medium for this first stencil. Then I'm going to grab some minty green colors. I'm starting with the lighter color, and very similar to how I colored in my petals, I'm starting with the lightest to add in the color to my leaves, and then I'll grab the next in the line of these greens. I have everything listed in my description box below. What inks I'm using, but I'm just bringing a little bit of a darker shade in to be the secondary color for the leaves. I just wanted to create a little bit of color dimension going in between two colors for my images. So I'm showing all of the stenciling for this first stencil, but as I move on through the rest of the stencils, I'm gonna just pick up the pace a little bit and edit out a bit of my transitions, because I don't think you need to see me lifting every single stencil to color in these images. So now that I'm moving on to another part of the flowers, instead of using the lightest pink, I'm using that first mid-tone as the lighter shade, and then another darker pink to be the darker shade to color in the remaining petals for the peonies. So like I said, I'll just quickly go through the coloring here since it's a little bit different of a combination. But for the rest of the greens, I'll just go back and forth between those two shades that I already used for the leaves. And then I'm also going to bring in a yellow to be the center of the peonies, which is on another stencil. But I just really love how easy these stencils make coloring in the images. I have, like I said, been really obsessed with the coloring stencils. I just think it makes life so easy. Now, you can definitely skip the stencils. You can color these in with watercolors, with alcohol markers, however, your favorite way of coloring. But I love the simplicity of the stencils and just using ink to color them in. You can also use distress oxides to color in, but I will say that the ink sits on top of the foil, so you may need to kind of buff out the ink off the foil. I've done that in the past, so my preferred ink when doing these types of stencils, when I've foiled or used a better press plate, is to use dye-based inks. I just think it's a little easier and not going to sit on top of the foil or the impression of the letterpressed ink if you're using a better press plate with a coordinating stencil. So now that all of my stenciling is done, you can see how pretty this looks. I did get a little bit of shadowing because my stencil moved a little, so when I use the A2 nested die to cut out that background, I just made sure that that weird little shadow part gets cut off. So then I was trying to figure out what background color I wanted to do for my flowers, and I decided on a pink, which is Dahlia from Spellbinders, for my peonies that I use the stencil. And then I thought it'd be fun to bring in yellow chamomile with this blue cardstock. I just thought it matched pretty well with the gold foil and just brought in a nice color to pop with that blue. I'm going to choose Birthday Wishes as one of my sentiments. This one's going to be for the blue and yellow foiled card. And then for my stenciled card, I'm going to use the sentiment, Have a Sweet Day. Now, I'm not going to do anything much with these banners, but I wanted to add a little bit of color, so I'm just using the residual ink on my brushes. I did yellow for Birthday Wishes and pink for Have a Sweet Day, just on the edges, like the fishtail cut parts of the banner, just so it will pop off the background, but yet kind of blend in because it's not so stark white anymore. And I was looking at my cards and I really liked the pink. I don't think it needs anything else, but I wanted to bring in more of the yellow for my birthday wishes card. So I grabbed a Spellbinders die set. This is the stitched Kaleidoscope arched etched dies. And I'm going to grab all of the flower pieces from this die set, and I'm going to cut them out of some yellow cardstock for the flowers. I did white for the insides of the flowers just to not add in another color. And then I brought in green for the greenery. So I'll go ahead and use my double-sided adhesive tape to add adhesive to the back of the glimmer panel, and I glued that right to the center of my yellow panel, and then later on I'll add that to an A2 card base. I'm grabbing some foam strips. These are from scrapbook.com, the 2mm thick, the standard foam strip or foam adhesive thickness, and I added that to the back of my banner. I'm going to adhere all of my little floral pieces together. I just am going to use liquid glue. I love that Spellbinders has these like very easy to add glue to the stems of the flowers, and it just makes it really easy to attach the flowers themselves to the stems. You can see the one I have still needs a flower. There's like that perfect little circle, and just makes it so easy to glue and layer all of these florals together. I didn't add any ink to them. I kept it very simple. I wanted to show how, quick and I wouldn't say quick and easy, but you don't have to go through like extraordinary lengths and add dimension to all of your die cuts if you don't want to. I think they look so pretty on their own. You could definitely step it up by adding some ink and giving the petals a little more dimension, but because they have the detailed from the etched dies, there's like an impression in the petals. I just don't think it necessarily needs it, especially these tiny little flowers as they are. To add them to my card, I'm going to use my 1mm thick foam squares from scrapbook.com. I'm just adding them to the back of the flowers themselves, and I'm going to use the banner as a guide of where I want to place the flowers down. So I'm starting with that little trio, and then I have the flower that is kind of like on its side. I added the leaves that are by themselves just with liquid adhesive, while the rest of the pieces are with foam adhesive. When I add the banner, I'm going to use my grid to try to get it as straight and centered as possible, and I'm going to realize that it feels a little unbalanced and I want to add more flowers, so I'm going to die cut more and add them, but I'll go ahead and do that off camera. Now I'm going to glue the stenciled background or the stenciled panel to the pink background card front, and I'll attach the sentiment the same way with that 2mm foam adhesive strips. And this time I'm going to go a little bit more towards the top of the card and actually off-centered. I felt like my flowers were a little kind of too much to the left, if that makes sense. So I wanted my sentiment to be a little bit too much to the right just to make it feel a little more even. You can see I added some more yellow flowers to my blue card, and then I found these embellishments in my stash. These are the Fashion Blush Color Essential Pearl Dots from Spellbinders, and I added 6 of those to my pink peony card just to add a little bit of embellishment. Here is a final look at the 2 cards I created with the Glimmering Peonies set, as well as the Everyday Sentiments. I hope you had fun foiling and putting these cards together with me. Let me know in the comments which of the new products you're most excited for today. I've already put in my order for the Propagation Garden Collection. I think those are so cool. So you will see that on my channel, or at least on my Instagram soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!